Committee. Just before we start today, I'd like to acknowledge the passing of the Māori King, King Iti Tuheitia. I just thought we should do a moment of silence in his honour. Thank you. Congratulations, offer our congratulations to the new appointee on the position to the role. And we will move to item number 1. The apologies. We have received one apology from Councillor Carey, and I move that the apology be received. Move that the apology received from Councillor Carey be accepted, and the reverse be granted. Seconded by Councillor Holderness. All those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Contrary no, it is carried. Declarations of interest to any members wishing to declare a conflict of interest with any other items on today's agenda. I declare a conflict of interest with item 8, titled Council Loan Requirements, 2024-2025. Sorry. Oh, sorry. Item 7. I apologise. And I'll leave the room when we get to this item, and Councillor Holderness will take the chair. We move to item 3, public forum. We have no public forum today. However, we have received a table document from Mary Beth Taylor. I move that it will be received. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ultra. All those for that opinion say aye.
Aye.
No. Thank you. And we move to our first item today, item number 4. With this item, there has been a supplementary memo at my request. I just requested a little bit more information, a little bit more context to go alongside the report in our agenda today. This came through late last night and was circulated to elected members this morning, as well as the public. It is just to provide a bit more background and hopes almost terms of reference for the business case. Are there any comments from the director before we open it up?
No comments.
No further comments, and we will open it up for questions. Ms. Wersha.
Just 2 questions. One, had there been any thought given to actually waiting for this to be done by the new entity? Might be better to see. I mean,
yeah, look, yes, there has been some thought, but at the moment, Wellington Water pursuing this as part of their work program. And I think at yesterday's AOG meeting, we heard a reference to the team that is helping put together the new water services delivery plan, where they were expressing an interest in having a look at the same issue, which would seem to be an unnecessary duplication, given that this piece of work, which has already been funded and is well underway. Into the business case proposition, this is an interesting way of describing it, because normally you do a business case when you have a range of options or opportunities in front of you. One of the reasons for the business case is to identify, I guess, the pros and cons of each of those options and to do a proper analysis. And you'll see in the paper here, there's a whole lot of evidence listed on page 4. Those are all things that you would do as part of a business case. But I believe that this may be more from a decision to put in water meters or consider what the options to water meters may be, more towards an implementation plan, which may require a different type of, a different number of inputs, and the outputs would look a little bit different as well. So I guess in my mind, I'm questioning, has the decision to install meters de facto been made? And if so, we're moving into implementation. Or are they still thinking that we're back at the point of the argument where there's a decision to be made as to whether you go to water meter? Now, this council, when we tested the community as part of the LTP, we were clearly in the space that we had yet to make that decision. But other councils who are involved in this process were at a different stage in their thinking on this matter, and they had committed to metering. So I think what we're seeing here is this isn't addressing situation from our perspective where we still want to understand, is this the right thing to do or not? Or at least that's what our community told us. And this is being tailored more at the councils who have already made a commitment to proceed. It's a rather long-winded answer, but
So just to reassure people, this paper isn't to decide whether or not we do the business case. It is to bring the funding forward from next year, and we've already agreed to do it as part of our long-term planning process. This is just simply getting it done earlier so the work can get underway. Councillor Carson.
I have a number of questions, Chair, and I'll take them one at a time if you like, so people can respond. First of all, in page 4 on paragraph 25, it looks, paragraph 24, it says that the framework for the metering case will be tailored to suit the region's needs, but consistent with the Treasury Better Business Case model. So there's two things in there. Framework for the metering case. That's interesting. I don't know what that means actually. What is a framework and what does it mean tailored to suit the regions? But when they talk about consistent with the Treasury Better Business Case model, if they follow that methodology, it requires to consider all the options, including doing nothing, and look at the pros and cons and the costs of doing each of those options. Then you weigh out the option that is most favourable or people want to pursue, and then you move into the detailed business case preparation. So I'd like to know if that is being followed by Wellington Water, please. Secondly,
Should we get the answer to that?
okay, yes, okay.
Director of Asset Management on this one? Yep, good.
Sorry, through you, Chair, just unmuting myself. Yes, I mean, the Better Business Case methodology is being followed. However, there is preliminary work that has taken place, and it is a bit of an awkward position that we find ourselves in because other councils within the region have actually loaded up funding for implementation within their LTPs. So just within the last week, the steering group that I'm a member of came together to discuss the project that's involved with the development of this business case. And I did have to repeatedly remind my colleagues from other councils within the region that Upper Hutt City Council has not made a decision to proceed with this. We have simply committed to undertaking the business case work to come to a point where that can come back to elected members for a decision to move forward. In terms of the strict application of the Better Business Case methodology, I would, having been involved in other business cases, I'd say it is a bit of a hybrid, but from my experience, business cases do tend to go that way a bit, as a bit of horses for courses. But certainly a thorough approach is being taken, and a team that sits within Wellington Water has been stood up to undertake this work on behalf of the collective councils.
Just particularly on the point around how many options are being considered, can you confirm how many options are being considered, and if do nothing is an option?
Yeah.
That's a good question. We haven't actually got to that point yet. We're still talking about how we're going to behave and act with one another. So the meat of the work itself has not yet started. But certainly from the way it's been presented to date, and I guess reflecting back to the letter of expectation that was put through the Wellington Water Committee into the statement of intent. Doing nothing is, I've got to be careful what I say here, but it is, and that's of course going to be an option that's always there, because ultimately it is your decision as elected members whether you proceed with this or not. But in terms of an assessed option, I couldn't say that that is being undertaken at this point in time.
Thank you.
Now, turning to para 25, talks about leading to completion of a detailed business case. So it seems there's a preliminary business case with the detailed business case to be by June 2025. So when will the preliminary business case be completed by this group, please?
So through you, through the chair, I'm just looking at my papers. So paragraph 25, is that?
On the memo, sorry, Gunther, on the additional.
Right, okay, sorry, on the memo.
That's all my questions are to the additional memo.
Oh, right, okay, cool. I was looking back. I was trying to find the paragraph 25. So in terms, so could through the chair, could you repeat the question again, please, Councillor?
The question was around the phrasing, the detailed business case, or as mentioned in paragraph 25, and that implying that is that implying that there's a preliminary business case, or why was the word detailed business case used there, or is that just terminology?
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, again, this is going back to better business case methodology, but I believe it is launching straight into the detailed business case. But there is preliminary work that has been undertaken prior to this that will be taken account of as we go into the development of this DBC.
Question 3.
Yep.
Can we have the details of who was on this, who was preparing the business case, please? I'd like to know who was preparing the business case to look at water metering or not.
The answer is,
can that be provided, please?
but staff of Wellington Water, we need to know their names and titles.
No, just their positions.
Titles, yes.
Well, I mean, certainly a team has been pulled. Oh, sorry, through the chair. A team has been pulled together, as I said, that sits within Wellington Water. That is led by a chap, I think, would be called Ian McSherry, who is a program director for this specific project. Underneath him, he is bringing together a team of experts that will support him in the development of this business case as well, and he's still undertaking that formation of that team.
Ian's only new to Wellington Water, isn't he? He's come from the National Transition Unit.
Yes, through you, Chair. Yes, that is correct.
So can we still have that information, please? And is anyone outside the Wellington Water being employed as consultants as well for a peer review? Yeah. And I want to know whether or not there is going to be a peer review of the business case as well.
Well, okay, we'll take that one at a time. Will it be peer reviewed?
Good question. Yes, I mean, it would be my expectation that we would undertake peer review. I've raised that myself actually at the steering group to ensure that we do have an independent peer review of the work, especially given the level of investment that's being made. But I can certainly come back on these specific questions for you. Yeah,
because I imagine they haven't actually got the whole team yet, if it's still being stood up.
That's understood. Yeah. And lastly, but not least, Chair, in the 25A in bullet point, talks about strategic case, economic case, commercial case, financial case, and management case. Is the team also looking at the funding case? In other words, will the meters, capital cost of the meters be funded by debt? Or will the meters be leased and their meters operated on a third provider basis, which happens overseas quite a bit?
I guess the question there is, will the funding be considered? Firstly,
how
the meters are funded be considered?
Yeah, just through yourself, Chair. I mean, yes, that would be my expectation that would take place, because that would form part of that commercial / economic case for them. So yes, that would be considered.
Thank you.
Thank you
for your perseverance, patience.
Were there questions over this side? No. Everyone satisfied? Oh, sorry. Then we'll come back.
I didn't go there. I do have some concerns about this terms of reference with regard to this, because as the CEO said, and as we went out and consulted in our LPP, it was an exploratory investment into water meters. And my concern is the terms of reference, if I look at this, is actually the implementation and the cost of that implementation going in. And whilst there is going to be obviously a charge if we go with this, we know that all the other councils have put it in their LPP that they are implementing water meters, as the CEO said, but we are only looking at a business case. But we're being dragged along as not just a business case, but that this is a foregone conclusion, and we'll be thrown under the bus if we don't go ahead and look at the options of actually implementing this when we don't have any funds in our LTP. That if we are put in a position like that, it would mean an amendment to our LTP, would it not?
When you say this is talking about implementation, like it's rushing ahead to implementation,
Yeah, exactly.
where exactly, sorry?
Well, it says that it's looking at considering all the costs associated with adopting a charging regime will be determined with discussions with council. That's 27, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost as if we're going to do it. So we're going to now look at the cost associated with adopting the charging regime. It's almost talking about these are going to come. So then we're going to look at how we're going to charge the people. And that does concern me, because ours is just looking for options, which is what Councillor Carson has said, that we can come back to our community and put that through a consultation, because, you know, already, you know, there are a number of different options. If you look at what's doing at Christchurch, they give you a certain level, and if you go over that level, then they charge. We need to make sure that they're looking at all of those options. If we're going to go and install water meters, how are we going to do it, as Councillor Carson said? And then what are we going to look at the cost? Because it's here saying consistently across the metro region.
I don't think it's jumping into implementation. I think it's saying that we'll discuss how that, if any charging regime is established, for all discussions into councils. But we're not alone with we're not the only ones who doesn't have it in our LTP implementation. Wellington City don't. They did put it in. They did put it in. Poirua have it in.
Yes.
And Hart have partially
Yes.
funded, or fully funded.
No, they've put it in too. Fully funded is an unknown. It's not. The cost.
Yeah.
So I think they'll put funds in is the right words, but yeah.
But
We have made very clear in this.
yeah,
That we are looking to councillors for money to fund this business case.
Yeah.
And that Upper Hutt would have to go in line with our long-term plans and consult with our community.
Yeah.
So we have made it really clear to Wellington Water a number of times, Gunther and myself, separate occasions, that we would have to go out and reconcile if you move forward with it.
So I have another.
sorry, as much as the perception is there that we may feel bound, we are not bound. We are an independent council. We make the decision on water meters ourselves.
Well, Chair, I think that
Councillor Carlton.
I think that point should be made when we consider the recommendations quite clearly, and that should be another motion that actually addresses that. You could be a cynic and say that this development of this business case is really to justify a decision already made to install water meters by the other councils, the other councils. So, you know, it's really just saying, okay, we're going to do all the homework to justify a decision we've already made, because that's the way the paper actually reads, if you read between the lines. And in any case, therefore, it's going to be a question wherever councils implement the installation of the meters, which is going to take a considerable amount of time, and that will be taken over by whatever the new water entity is established. And I can't see anyone not charging for volumetric and also line charging for water pipes as well. I mean, that's coming down the pipeline as clear as anything.
Well, we could have a motion to reaffirm that this is only a business case, and we look at that when we get to the recommendations. But I remind councillors why we are talking about this. This came out of the water summit late last year when the region was on the verge of running out of water. This isn't being done for fun. This has been done because we very nearly ran out of water as a region. Councillor Wheeler, and then I'll come back to Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Chair. Just on 15. It's more about clarity.
Of the memo or the
No,
paper?
maybe
Paper? Okay.
just on the financial needs. Just want to get clarity on the actual funding. And if we do put it into the 24-25 financial year, what is the consequence of that for the following year? I'm trying to read between the lines here, but I'd like to hear it straight.
Reimburse ourselves, aren't we?
So exactly as it is, like for like, we would bring the money we would spend the money this year. And then next year we will rate for the money. Does that make sense? So we will use cash reserves to pay the bill.
Credit card.
Yeah, and then next year we will go and raise the revenue by rates.
We have a
Because it's
water
because-
reserve.
Because it's already in next year's LTP numbers.
Yeah.
That we would spend this money. So all we are asking here is to bring that money forward a year.
Okay, so the consequences is
We
is what
will go a little bit of interest. Well, we forgot interest on that money because we paid the bill early.
Councillor Griffiths?
Yeah.
Mine's just a bit of a whimsical question. 28, risk of not progressing the beneficial meters. Last line, increase the risk of regulatory non-compliance. Would somebody push our way of a hand on?
Thank you.
The very last sentence. Griffith? Of the memo.
Sorry, yeah, I've seen it. In terms of regulatory non-compliance, that's about the supply of water, I'd imagine, potable drinking water, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, we have to be mindful that there's now a big water regulator sitting over the top as well that's watching what's going on, which I think to the chair's earlier comment, this came out of a forum, was it a year ago? It was before my time working in this space again, when the region, was facing drought conditions. So we just have to be mindful that there is, regulatory oversight of what's going on here and how we manage this situation.
Councillor Ultra?
Through you, Chair, I just wanted to firstly say that I was at the Water Shortage Summit last year, and the three priorities were to fix the leaks, increase storage, and install water meters. And we didn't actually vote on those things individually. They were taken as one agreement. So I don't think it was ever really given an option to say no to one thing and yes to the other two or anything like that. So I'm just wondering, how are we going to consult the community over this when it's already looks like something that's already agreed to regionally? It's like we're not in a position where regionally we can back out, or how do we consult the community in that situation?
I imagine our significance and engagement strategy would be triggered if we were still the asset owning entity and we were the ones who implemented this. That would trigger our significance and engagement strategy. Is that correct? Any further comments, Beth?
Well, no, I would agree with you, Chair, that given the significance of this investment, it would trigger that.
And just to add to that, Gunther, it's what we said in our long-term plan we would do.
Councillor Slopes?
Can I just want to say I was at that summit as well, as many other of my colleagues around the table were, and I confirm what Councillor Ultra said about fix the leaks and increase the storage and then look at water meters. The part that I find really frustrating, that when I look at the members that are members of the Wellington Water Committee at the moment, one of them is the Greater Wellington Regional Council, who are responsible for water storage. And I find it really a little bit irresponsible of them to actually put past the 10-year LTP that they've got looking at water storage when they know that as a region, we are looking at having an issue with regard to water storage. So I just think that they're being given a hospital pass at the moment, and actually we should be reminding them that it's actually their responsibility because we buy the bulk water from them. And where are they in this conversation with regard to storage and that? So I would just like that to be put on the table and actually be reminded that they have a part to play in this, because it was number 2 on the 3 that they suggested that we look at.
Well, those 3 are in that, is it para 14 of this memo? Keep the water in the pipes, reduce water demand for water, which alludes to meters and general usage, and add more supply. I seem to remember there was a graph with the solutions.
Yeah.
And if you took anyone in isolation, it didn't quite work. Because if you add more supply and the leak keeps pissing out in the street, it doesn't quite, pardon my language, it doesn't solve the problem. And so it had to be a 3-pronged approach. And I fully agree, we need to do more storage, and I think we should keep pressure on the regional council. But that is we talk about this being a large investment, that is a very large investment that the ratepayers will have to pay for. So could be seen as a value for money to go through the reduced option first, but it's just my view. Councillor Webb.
3 questions in a row. When would, if we decide to go ahead, when would this case start? How long will this case take to actually run? And when will we get this information come back here?
Do you want to take those all together, Goodman?
Yeah, just through you, Chair, just to clarify, when you say when would the business case start, it has started now, and it's due to report back next year.
So when you say now, is each council separate, or is it a regional?
No, we're part of this group that's working together collaboratively with Mana Whenua. I guess it'd be fair to note that Greater Wellington have decided they don't need to be part of this group directly related to this project. But the group has formed, and the staff, as I mentioned, under Ian McSherry, are underway leading this work now, due to report back next year.
Share.
What, do we have a late next year, early next year, mid next year? Yeah, what's this, say, June?
2025.
Yeah, I think through you, Chair, loosely it was around the transition of the financial year.
Yeah.
Because it's only just started.
Yeah. Further points, Councillor Alford?
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just wanted to ask about if we were to borrow more in the long-term plan in order to cover the cost of water meter installation, should this progress, what would that mean for the long-term plan? Do we have the headroom to take on more debt?
Through your chair, we costed it roughly, and I say costed with the most broad meaning of the word, because no one knows how much these things cost. So based on the figures we had, we worked it into option 2 of the long-term plan, and it is doable under our headroom. So I would refer you back to that calculation if it is in the consultation document.
Councillor Griffiths?
And listening to, reading through this paper, I'd actually like to move option 1, recommendation 1.
With an amendment, please, Chair.
I was happy to move.
I'll second the motion, and then we'll have the amendment. Yep. What's the amendment, Councillor Carson? Or is it just an additional recommendation?
Well, it will be C, notes that the council has only committed to a business case in its long-term plan. Full stop. And implement and installation and operation of water meters is being excluded at this time. Something along those lines. In other words, it says we've only put the business plan on the long-term plan, not.
And how about no decision has been made around installation?
Yep, fine. Yep, I'm happy with that. I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll second. Okay, so, okay. Yeah, all right, we'll vote on that first as an amendment. It's been moved by councillor Carson, second by councillor Hammond. All those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, no. It's carried. Cool. And then we'll move the rest of the paper. Moved by councillor Griffith, seconded by myself. All those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. And it is carried. Now we move to our second item. Local water done well, early and indicative UHCC financial projections. Did you want to open up with any comments, Director?
The only thing I would say to the committee is that this is simply unpicking the long-term plan. We have not done any analysis or any further thinking. We have just separated water and non-water in the long-term plan and presented it to you. It's very early and high level.
And the reason for this paper is purely just an FYI.
Yes.
Were there any questions, councillor Griffiths?
No, more of a comment on question. Great to unpick it, but basically be passing that costs to somewhere else. Yep. Won't be that it's a saving as such, it'll just be a movement of
Absolutely.
lines in the budget.
This will be the Upper Hutt Sea Council revenue, but it won't be what the ratepayers pay. They'll be paying a different way if this goes ahead. Because someone has to pay. Councillor Newman.
Yeah, that just, I wanted to reiterate that point, that the paper, if you just looked at that as a member of the public, it sounds like a fantastic story. And I feel that very quickly we need to make it clear that somebody still needs to pay. It just won't be coming out of their rates. It'll be some other way of charging them.
Absolutely. Councillor Carlson.
Well, just following on, councillor, not only that, it gives the opportunity for our city council to look at other things that have been deferred in the long-term plan because of the financial and liquidity situation. So, so going through, there's an opportunity to, for example, rephrase certain projects that have been deferred in the long-term plan and the next three-year long-term, the next time the long-term plan is done. And so it opens up an opportunity as well.
It does, but I imagine there will be a big expectation from ratepayers when this transition happens, if this transition happens, that councils don't just see it as a money grab opportunity to, okay, well, that bill's being reduced, we can increase it a little bit more to do some more stuff. They will be paying a lot more.
I'm not saying increasing, I'm bringing forward projects. So.
Fair enough.
Thank you. And through you, Chair, I have to agree actually with your sentiments, Chair, because to bring forward things is in a time when the community are telling us that they are strapped. When this does come in, because this government is saying it will come in, it's going to be another charge that is outside of the rates. They are not going to get a free ride. So there is going to be another charge somewhere. So to bring things forward is just not, for me, on the table.
Well, that is a while away as well. So yeah. We've got His Worship.
Yeah. And I'm sure only a couple of weeks ago, if you heard what the Prime Minister said, that's exactly the sort of scrutiny that councils will be under.
Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't suddenly got another
Non-core activities will be limited is the thing, which we have done ourselves. Any further comments? Councillor Hammond.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Paragraph 12, all assets, the asset transfer, is that all the assets are valued at 675 for water?
Sorry?
Paragraph 12, it says all assets and work in progress related to water services are assumed to transfer. The details of specific assets will be transferred, particularly for stormwater. Will need to be worked through. The estimated transfer was expected to be around 45% of the total council asset value. And it's been, the asset transfer value is expected to be around 675 as at 1st of July 2027. I'd seen something about 1.3 billion for all our
water assets? Was I wrong or is
I
it
had three,
different? Yeah.
three, Chair. That's based on the long-term plan projections. Since doing the long-term plans, we're currently having our water assets revalued. So that the latter figure is an indication that the value in the long-term plan is understated.
Councillor Whelan and Councillor Castle.
Just looking forward into the future here, just with the water gun will, we would get a separate bill. Would it be like Wellington Regional Council? Will we get that in the same envelope?
I think a lot of that's to be determined.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. All up in the air.
All up in the air. Early indications are someone will be busy with his bill and
For the first 3 years.
Yeah.
Just not going to councillor Griffiths on that point.
On that point, the city council gets a payment from regional to collect, so I assume that there'll be a carrot dangled sometime in the
You
future.
hope so, but I remember during the Three Waters discussion that there was the government didn't offer a carrot to us, so hopefully, since we're out of this unity, but
And through your chair,
it's out of one pocket into the other.
we carry the contingent liabilities and that might be the carrot.
It's all
Which is the way you look at it. Councillor Carter.
Just the thing that's not on this paper is accounting for the Upper City Council's share of a future CCO, because it will have to do associate accounting, which means a valuation of the new CCO and bringing on that percentage onto the council's balance sheet. So you'll have a debit and a credit. So that hasn't been considered. So that's another little interesting thing to be worked through.
Another thing that hasn't been accounted for, not a criticism, but just a note, carbon emissions, I imagine, is a entity, depending on how the emissions will drop enormously. But they don't go away, just the emissions. Any further comments?
For you, Chair, we'll make our audit on carbon emissions already good.
Yes, Happy to move, councillor Holderness, seconded by his worship the mayor. All those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Contrary no, it is carried. Now we move to our report on proposed carryovers from the 2023-2024 financial year to the 2024-2025 financial year. As you can see, there's been a big reduction there, and that's mostly due to the LTP process and a bit of a use it or lose it approach by our CFO, I think. You get it? Do you have any comments tonight?
No, I have no comments.
Councillor Carson.
Thank you, Chair. So the carry forwards, does that include any accruals? Or is it just,
No,
it doesn't include accruals?
no,
Why not? Why not?
because they were carried forward as a carried forward into carry back, if I can put it that way, because we approved them for the year coming from. Whereas this is about spending the money that we should have spent last year and next year. So one's going that way and one's going that way.
So one's about cash and the other one's about accounting. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillor Swales.
I just want to reiterate for anyone that might be online listening that hasn't got the papers in front of them, that under number 6, that only 3% of the requested carryovers are from rate funding and the rest is from loan funded, which means that we haven't drawn it down.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's something that we should be cognizant of, and we can share that with our community, that, you know, our rates, the way we rate, we do try and spend the money that we're rated for. And that, yeah, so I just wanted to allude or draw the attention to number 6.
And it's been a considerable improvement.
It has.
Yeah, that's a later paper. Yeah. Anyway, councillors, Wheeler.
We're just on 16, the report of water, the main upgrade.
Yep.
That's a carryover on, I'm still about to check with your own water main rate, the delay on it. So does that have a financial implication for its delay, or is that its cost on doing that project?
That's probably
Good thing.
Chatswood Road water main delayed. I can't answer that, but if Glenwood is not there, I'll take away.
Here it is.
No, through the chair, I am here. So the question was, is there a financial cost for that delay because the contractor was taken off that job to work on the other emergency works in Days Bay? Is that the question?
Yeah, it was a fixed cost.
Yeah. So that's a great question, and one that I actually asked Wellington Water directly within the last week, and they can confirm that no, there would be no cost implications to us. But I would note that obviously, I mean, probably shouldn't say this, but you know, we are joint JV partners with the work that did have to take place in Days Bay, but that's on the sewer trunk network.
Okay. Councillor Ultra.
Through your chair, on the same spreadsheet, I think we're on the same one, there's approved solar panels for the pool, which made me really, really happy to see that. And I just wondered if I could ask about their capacity and how much savings they could potentially bring in electricity costs.
Through your chair, still working through that.
Still working through it.
On end, but, yeah, and how much money we've got and what we can, but we have future-proofed it to be able to put some on now, and if we can't fully encompass the roof with solar panels, to be able to put them on at a later date. Cost savings, etc. I've heard figures, but we haven't got to the detail of around return of cost within 7 years, which is a lot less than what there was a number of years ago.
Absolutely, again, more efficient idea. And Director, did that come about because of the works on the roof? Because previously we were told panels weren't an option. Yeah.
Through your chair, yes. Cool. And some of the money was set aside originally to do some stuff on the library.
Yep.
But that's now come together and looking good.
Silver lining, I guess. Councillor Swales.
I just want to go to that spreadsheet again that we've got, or attachment on page 16. And I want to go down to the economic and retail development, and it's around the stimulus packages.
Yeah.
So it's really good to actually see that now that we're through the long-term plan that we're no longer doing now. But I was under the impression that that the outstanding or the projects that hadn't been completed didn't total 250K. I thought that some of that had already gone out and that the amount left to be picked up was less than 250.
Through chair. Very good reading. It's 195.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
This is at 30 June.
Yeah, and
And so our other paper's probably a bit more recent.
no, when we picked up 250, we picked up 250.
Yeah.
But when you run through the detail, it's more 195, but we've rounded it, so we probably not be drawing it all down.
Right.
What happens to the balance? Just
It's line
General
funded,
reserve,
so we
Yes, we go. Yeah. And then I have a similar question through you, Chair. It's around the business stimulus package, with their not only the money that has yet to be pulled down, because I appreciate that it's a little bit more complicated with the requirement that they have to meet before they get the money. There are some provisions with some of those. Will we still be getting reports because there were conditions around some of that grant funding? Will that be coming to us as a part of an update that these people, whilst they've got the money, are still meeting the requirement of the contract that we entered in with?
the intention is yes, and I'm through you to Stuart might want to.
Just that subsequent to this committee meeting, that we can bring those reports to the Finance and Performance Committee on a regular basis until those run down, until all those grants run down, one way or another. Either if they don't do the project, the money isn't lifted, it's cancelled, or it's paid out and pulled out. Yep.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No further questions? Cool. I'm happy to move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Ultra. All those of that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Contrary no. It's carried. And now you get a break from me. Then Councillor Holness will take the chair. Okay. Seamless.
All right. Okay, so council loan requirements, page 16, the report from the director looking at council approval for raising the loan financing for the long-term plan projects. Director, would you like to speak to anything in there?
Through Chair, no, I think I would hope recommendations A to H are pretty straightforward. Sort of lines up with the long-term plan and the carryovers we've just discussed in the earlier paper.
Any members have any questions?
Yeah, just on 12, financial resources, right? Just the Mainstone Park turf renewal. What's that related to? Is that because Mainstone Park's quite big, is this the one, the artificial one over the other side, or is this to do with our new ones?
Yeah, for sure.
Yes. Or are you talking to?
I'll the answer that if he knows.
Yeah, for sure.
Through you, Chair, I'll have to get back to you because there are actually two projects there. One is the refurbishment of one of the carpet turfs, and the other is some work that's planned to be done on the sand-based turf. Both of those things are happening in the next little while, and I'm not clear. The amount here doesn't line with budgets for either of those two, so I can't speak with confidence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Tones.
I just want, I'm looking at recommendation F, which is in the event the terms and conditions of the borrowed sum loan require the council to subscribe to borrow. I'm not going to read it all out. I think you all know the one that I'm talking about. So with regard to that, I'm assuming this is all to do with the LTP, and we're talking about here that if any of the projects go out of scope or out of what we've agreed to in the LTP, this gives the CEO the ability to borrow more. Is it?
Through you, Chair. No, these are just borrowing, no.
That right, so that's
a way of borrowing the monies.
right.
Yeah.
So it's not okay.
It's not additional monies, it's a way of getting money.
Okay, that's already been agreed in the LTP.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Any further questions? In that case, I'm having to move recommendations A through H. No. Ms. Bishop seconds. All those in favour?
Aye.
Every night. Carried.
Well done.
Sand-based.
Go back to you now.
Yeah, that's not changing.
Oh. I know it is. Sorry.
We now move to the financial management report, draft rate funding statement, is it 30 June 2024? Did you hear any comments, Director?
No comments to make.
There is a few attachments to this one. We'll open up for questions.
There's to be none.
I'll fire one off. It's give you guys all the times to come up with some. Good fit. With the decision released by the government of the Waka Kotahi NZTA funding, some of these roading projects on attachment 5, page 35, these will be quite affected, won't they?
Yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, absolutely. And look, we've only just recently had the final numbers come through to us from Waka Kotahi. We're working through them as we speak. A paper's due to go to ELT on Monday on this matter. There are potential significant ramifications of this. And once we get our collective heads around it, so to speak, we'll definitely be needing to come back to council for discussion.
It was about 36% less than we were expecting.
Yes, that's correct.
How to fix the potholes. Councillor.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I just wanted to ask about the Hapai building and if there are any further details you can give us on where it's at with the maintenance and ongoing refit for community groups, is that right?
What line are we talking about now?
Sorry?
Is there a number on the thing?
Oh, sorry. 54.
Sorry, I'm just through you, Chair, I'm just struggling online to keep up with. This is paragraph 54.
Of
Yep.
the pay of proper.
Yeah, so there's not much
Oh, yeah.
detail there in terms of, you know, where it's at in terms of its refit
No.
for the community or.
Yeah, just through the chair. No, that there hasn't been significant changes taking place with that building at this point in time.
That will probably be covered next city services report.
Through the chair, no, no, it hadn't, but I can certainly collect some more detail up on that and bring it back to yourselves.
Through the chair, I mean, we are still using it.
We are still using it.
We are what, sorry? We're still using it.
How many, okay, how many staff do we still have over there?
The plan is, and the ELT is to move staff back once the restructure has been completed. So it's
alive.
We're running some projects over there.
Councillor Griffiths.
Thank you. Item 10 again, the non-subsidised roading. Largest being an overspend on street cleaning. Was there a influx of need for street? Elude me on what happened.
So just through the chair, sorry, the sound faded out towards the end there. So the question was around why there was an overspend on street cleaning.
Yeah.
I mean, no specific reason why. It was just, I guess, more work that was undertaken.
Streets were dirty.
No more leaves.
Councillor Swales.
I'd like to go to the dashboard on page 33.
Yep.
And it also refers to page 34 under Three Waters, and it's around the stormwater Pinehaven project. So we know that we've got the funding for phase 2 and it's continuing on track and going to be finished in October this year. And we see that there's going to be a carryover of some money. But on the dashboard, it talks about that the Pinehaven Stream Project 3 is in doubt. So when will we get an answer as to what we're going to do with the next 2 phases to complete what we originally wanted to do going back yonks ago? And I understand and appreciate that the cost has absolutely blown out, but with that carryover, if we don't continue with the rest of the phasing, that money's obviously got to be spent on stormwater or water somewhere, right?
Well, I think it's the problem is that there is no funding there.
Well,
no, we've carried monies forward.
Yeah.
The Pinehaven project is going to probably best speak to where that's at in the review. And it's loan funding, and any money we have in the stormwater reserve obviously has to be spent on stormwater.
Yeah.
But that's loan funding, remember, so we have, it's loan funding, so it's not rated money, so how we spend that loan funding could be up for debate.
So just to tease it out a bit, there's funding allocated to the project, but we're not sure we want to spend it or not, or we can spend it or not.
I thought I'll leave it to
Yeah,
Tonto, but yeah.
Review going.
Yeah.
It's still come back.
Yeah, it's review.
Yeah, just through the chair. So as I've discussed with councillors in the past, and as councillors decided within the LTP deliberations, funding was put in there for the next phase, but a review has been called for, which is well underway, and that is going through what is the designated governance committee for that specific project, which is the Hutt River Subcommittee. That work's underway, but I will be, of course, keeping yourselves abreast of the outcome of that, and then it will need to come back to Upper Hutt City Council to make a decision around how we move forward with that work. Now, that hasn't changed from what I've previously.
Yep, I was just teasing it out. Thank you.
I have a subsequent question, if that's okay, on the same page. So with regard to the venture projects came in at 3.5 million, this is regard to Barber Grove. We have been waiting for the final mop-up of the costings of that project. Is this it, and what is our portion?
Katie, I mean, are you in a position to answer? I mean, I don't. Is this the final mop-up? I can't tell you.
Happy to take it away. I'll come back.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Is it going to shared services? Will be raised there?
no, it's not on the paper. I'll read the
Oh,
paper.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's not on my paper.
Thank you, that's all.
Question, councillor Wheeler?
So the continuation on growth. So we've got another issue coming forward with State Highway 2 wastewater pipe renewal. And we're over budget already here. And the seriousness of that, how do we come to that part of the funding?
The state, just so I'm clear, are you talking about the Western
Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got carry forward money that we can apply for that. Yeah. And we, at this point, it looks to be enough, but what's.
That's right.
Yeah.
Any further questions? No, happy to move. Councillor Griffiths has moved the recommendation, and I'm seconded by His Worship. And I'll just find my page. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no.
Can I
Carried.
just open now for discussion before you move to the next agenda item, as we voted on recommendation? Have we passed that?
Yeah, yeah. What's the discussion?
Well, it's just that, I just think that we need to be cognizant of any decisions that we make and any carryovers that we do, particularly around page 38, when we look at the rates arrears that are coming through, that we need to be cognizant of that. And I find it interesting to see how it's climbing, and when I look at the areas.
So are we talking about the debtors report?
Yes, we
Yeah,
are.
okay. All right, yeah.
And yeah,
So,
sorry.
no, yeah, sorry, I just, yeah. Yeah, noted. Any questions or comments? I guess, is it fair to say that we have a seasonal spike every year?
We do spike every year, and we spike obviously not long after each rates instalment goes out.
Yes.
We work extremely hard to get the DDs in place.
Yeah.
Because that helps. Yeah.
Councillor Aldridge?
Through your chair, I just wanted to ask about the rates of this. Has there been much difference in terms of the number of instalments that people pay? So when it went from 5 to 4 instalments, do you think that makes a difference to come up with a larger bulk sum, or?
Through your chair, as I just said, we work hard to get DDs in place, and the idea of the DD option, direct debit option, is that it spreads the rates.
Yeah.
So a large number of people, at least a third, paid fortnightly, monthly, weekly, different routines that suits the individual.
I thought it was a client.
Like last time I looked at the run.
Yeah.
But we have over 51% in DDs. A lot of people.
Oh, 51% DD.
Yeah.
I got it.
We're one of the highest in the region.
I know.
And there is some apprehension amongst people around why it is a DD, an automatic payment. And that was because of the accounting, right, of the actually reporting the transactions. It's easy to know where direct debits come from, whereas an automatic payment.
DD,
hard.
we can control.
Yeah.
It's really the reality. And we have had a number of people this year.
Councillor Carson.
In view of the annual rate increases that that are coming through on the invoices, it would be nice to have reported future papers about how many people have been given rate relief or rate rebate. Just to supplement the rate arrears as well, so we just know, we express concern about the impact of the rate increase, and therefore it would be good to have some information about how many people have been given approval for rate relief or rate rebate. So we can track what's happening there.
Yeah, I do any comments on that, Director?
Through you, Chair, the various rate rebates, there is, the main one is the Ministry of Social Development one that people apply for. So there's one external to us. To date, we've had 650 people apply for that because the threshold of that went up. So that's more than we normally have. We normally have about 420, 450 people apply. So it has increased. On rates penalties, we've only remitted those where we've been in error so far. And we have had no hardship remissions.
So that's that 650 figure that I'd like to see tracked. And the other comment I might have, Chair, is on 8 under the graph, the Trentham one is that Mr. Kent is the Kent estate, isn't it? Thank you.
I do remind members not to name individual cases if possible.
We're still in public.
We are in a public meeting.
Clarification on that.
Councillor Griffiths.
In that same graph, we've got a place called Craig's Flat. Is that still in place, or is Riverstone Terraces now that place?
Well,
I thought it against
Rivers.
there is Riverstone Terraces.
Yeah. But
one holdout maybe, I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure I'll come back on it.
Just to clarify that, there are some properties further up from Riverstone Terraces, and I think that's what it means by Craig's Flat.
Craig's steep, because it gets steeper.
Yeah. This is driven off our database, with the rating database, so I'll have that one.
Thanks.
It's okay. Any further questions on this payment? Councillor Ultra?
Probably not a smart question, but what's going on in Trentham? Why have they got high rates of arrears?
I think it's skewed by one large arrears, councillor, rather than the large number.
Right.
Because that is a quantum, not the number of units, yeah.
Right.
It could actually be helpful to report that as maybe units rather than dollars, or both, yeah, just so we know.
Yeah.
Cool. Councillor Swales?
Just one on page 40 now. And I appreciate getting the breakdown that we've got. But mortgagee notices 9 is of a concern for me, and even final reminders, the one above, because after that you start looking at your mortgagee sales is probably
mortgagee notices, that's when we send a letter to the people's bank. The
Yeah,
bank pays
and-
it. That tends to be very successful, right?
It
Banks pay. Yeah.
But that's taking it out of the control of the people that actually pay, which means that their budget, their weekly budget is hit quite significantly. So I know they're not looking at losing their home, but
No.
it's still, you know, affecting their weekly budget.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at, you know, the final reminder, that's just one step away from that. And I see that, you know, unless it's converted, that will then be 23. So it's great that we've got this and that we as people around the table making decisions can actually track that and see what the impact is. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? No. Moved by Tertiary Mayor, seconded by Councillor Holderness. There's just the one recommendation. All those in that say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. That is carried. And that ends our public section of the meeting. It is 5:37. Do I have a moving for non-public? Councillor Griffiths, seconded, Councillor Newell. All those in that say aye.
Aye.
Contrary, no. That is carried. Fine.